Welcome to the show, everybody. I want to remind each of you out there to like and subscribe. On YouTube, we are Film Talk Radio. Today, we've got a very special guest, the Associate Programmer for Shorts from the Santa Fe International Film Festival. This is Yalian Li. Hey, Yalian, how are
Hi,
you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Oh, really good. And I'm so excited to have you on the show. This is the first time you've been on the show. And you just finished an excellent year at the Santa Fe International Film Festival. And I'm so excited to get to that too. But let's start at the very beginning. Where do you come from? What was it like growing up? Tell us a little bit about who you are and what we can expect.
Okay. First of all, thank you, Jacques, for inviting me to this talk. I feel really honored to be part of it. So I actually grew up in China before I went to college. My hometown is actually a city kind of close to the border to Russia and North Korea in China, but I moved to Beijing when I was 4. So I mainly grew up in Beijing and I went to Texas for my undergrad. And then I finished 1 year early for my undergrad, and then I moved to California for my graduate study at USC.
Now, was that University of Texas in Austin?
No, it's actually Baylor University. It's a Christian school.
Yeah, it's a good school.
Yeah, yeah.
So, uh, you come from, or you did most of your growing up in Beijing, but then you
Yes.
come to Baylor for undergrad. What was that like? Was that an exciting time?
I think I was mostly confused. So like I think I grew up with all the Hollywood films and like American TV series like Friends. So like I didn't know how diverse the United States is, so I kind of had a false imagination of the country. I thought like everywhere in the country would be like New York City in France, something like that. But like Baylor was actually in a really suburban area, and you have to drive to go to the nearest Target. Like you have to have a car, but I didn't have a car for the beginning 2 years. So I was stuck on the campus, and I think I spent most of the time wondering why I ended up there. Like, yeah.
Well, and then you really fell in love with movies early on in life. Do you think that was a way for you to expand watching a lot of movies since you're stuck on this campus?
Yes, I actually think so. I liked movies when I was young, but I didn't commit to movies until I was in my undergrad. Like when I was at Baylor, I did meet a really great professor. He was teaching the introduction of films. So we did those kind of like, I mean, now I will think it's silly, like 1 minute shorts with my phone, something like that. And I realized I really enjoy the process. And my that professor, his name is Maverick. Maverick is like super encouraging to me too. So yes, I did commit to films when I was at Baylor. Yeah.
And so then for grad school, you go to University of Southern California, one of the top film schools in the country. What was that experience?
Oh, it was way more intense than the program I had in my undergrad because I feel like when I was in undergrad, like yes, we did have a media major, but at USC, it's like a whole new level. Like everybody wants to be a director, and they are really like I don't know, hardworking, I guess, super hardworking. Like everybody trying to make it work. Yeah.
And what about moving from Texas to Los Angeles? Was that yet again another formative
Yeah.
time for you?
I have to say personally, like I like Los Angeles way much more. This city is more like fits to my personality. So I don't feel like I need to adjust to the city. I feel like for me, I feel more like, oh, I finally found a city like I really love. Yeah.
Yeah, there's this great piece that this interview with you in Shout Out LA where they say tell us about some local spots if a friend was visiting you where you'd take this friend. And you say, I'd start out with breakfast at one of the delicious Korean spots in Koreatown, like Koba Woo House, and then head over to the famous Wee Spa for a relaxing
Yeah,
experience.
yeah.
Then the Griffith Observatory for stunning views of the city. Tell me a little bit more about the food in Koreatown. Is that I've only been to a couple places, but I had a really great time. And
Ne- n- Next time when you're in town, like I will bring you to some really delicious places. Like, yeah, I do think like Korean town is like my favorite Asian food spot, to be honest. It's just like hard when I was in undergrad to trying to find good Asian restaurant nearby my school. But like in LA, it's way much more accessible. But the only thing is like the parking is like hell. Like, yeah, you have to pay like $20 for parking in
what and
Koreatown.
were you already a good driver from growing up in Beijing, or was driving?
Nope.
So what was driving in Los Angeles like? I know I'll actually be there at the end of the month, so I'll send you a text. But
Yeah.
what was that like? I know driving in Los Angeles is pretty terrifying for me, or it has been.
So I learned my driving skill when I was in Texas. And actually, people in Texas, they're more like tolerant of bad drivers like me, especially like when I try to learn how to drive. So nobody cut me out or nobody honked at me when I was slow, like when I was in Texas. So it was a great environment for me to learn how to drive. But Los Angeles is a totally different experience. I mean, I'm not sure if you have heard of Beef, like it's a Netflix TV series.
So
Like,
yeah, is it Hiraku Hiraki or Hiraku, the woman who created it? I met her when I was in New York in like 2016.
okay, I'm not sure who created the show, but like this show was based on a road rage in LA. So yeah, that is driving in LA a lot.
Yeah, I was happy to see it win that Golden Globe because I thought it was a very funny show.
Yeah.
Now, so you're at USC, you're honing your craft, and you have a lot of success with your senior thesis project. Is that right?
Yes, yes. It got into like more than 30 film festivals and it won some awards at certain film festivals. And I did feel like this film also like brought me some really important connections. Like I got to meet people at the festival too. Yeah.
Well, and tell me more about making connections through the film. I think that's one of the great things about film school. They always talk about how Spike Lee came out of NYU and so many other filmmakers coming out of USC. So, were there people that you worked with and met during your time at grad school that you're still working with or planning new
Yes.
projects with?
That definitely. So, I think for me about my film, like I definitely still like work with people from USA for sure. And for me, like for the future project, I do feel like when I make my thesis film, I made something I want to make from the bottom of my heart. I didn't try to guess what the festival want. So I naturally meet those people like at the festival who like my film, who like that style and who want to talk to me about it. So, and they gave me like, especially like I met several feature film directors and they were really successful. They were like steps ahead of me, but they gave me really genuine advice about like how they make their first feature film happen. And they will tell me what they see in my film. And I think this is a really valuable experience. And I didn't have that before. I think before I started USC, like I watched films more like an audience. I didn't watch it like an insider of the filmmaking world. I remember like when I was in the screenwriting class, like my professor, he was analyzing the scripts of Whiplash. and Moonlight. It was amazing. Like I totally didn't see how the script was structured.
And Yalian, we had a great year working together. It's just honor and a pleasure to really experience your professionalism and your ability firsthand. We really didn't get to talk a lot during the festival, and it's so fun to get to know you a little better on the air. We were still kind of on your days at USC, so you had a couple of professors that really inspired you at the time. You had a group of friends that you're working with to make these projects. And you've got this vision and this drive to someday be making big movies. So what what movies are exciting you at the time? What's inspiring you during these formative years at USC?
I actually watched so many films when I was at USC. I think what USC taught me is like how to analyze films. I think before I started USC, like I watched films more like an audience. I didn't watch it like an insider of the filmmaking world. I remember like when I was in the screenwriting class, like my professor, he was analyzing the scripts of Whiplash and Moonlight. It was amazing. Like I totally didn't see how the script were structured and everything. There are a lot of films like this, like La La Land too. Like I feel like they brought me a new perspective of watching films for sure.
I thought it was such a beautiful work, and it reminded me of Truffaut with the 400 Blows, and this
Yeah,
child who's in a very tough situation with the world on his shoulders. I think he just captured that so well.
this that is a really sensitive film and like vulnerable too, like vulnerable film to me too. Like for me, it's just like the filmmaker was so honest in the film, like, and I feel like those type of honesty is rare, like especially like I started to watch short films for the festival, so I think it helps me to realize what's good in those good films for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and you did an amazing job this last season. This was you visited the festival in 2022, but 2023 was your first season this last
Yeah.
October
Yeah.
as a associate programmer for shorts. And the work you did was detailed, it was thoughtful, you really immersed yourself in it. And so I thought, God, we are so lucky to have this young lady who's doing such phenomenal work as part of this team. And I imagine it was a rewarding experience for you too. Can you tell me about that?
uh this is really rewarding for me, and also thank you, Jacques, for bringing me to the team. I have to say, like, I learned so much too by watching all these festival films. And I was really like, I enjoyed the festival the first time I was there because you guys did so well with that was my first time to visit Santa Fe too. So, I mean, like, in 2022, I have been so many film festivals, to be honest. If I got selected, I will try to make it, but Santa Fe is definitely really unique. And then like it just I can tell you guys spend the money at the right place. Like with the food, with the venues you got and everything. And after I start to will watch shorts for the festival, I can talk for forever about like how much I learned from it. Yeah.
Derek Horn is the director of shorts programming for the festival. You work closely with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, would you say, I think he may have an eidetic memory, like a photographic memory, they also call it. Do you find that he's very good at remembering things?
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Because for me, it's more like I remember the storyline, but like a lot of times he will bring up a film name directly. Oh, do you remember that film? And I'm like, which film is that? And then he will describe the whole storyline. And then I will be like, oh, that film, I remember it. Yeah. Like he's really great at the filmmaker's background, the film name, and then what's going on in that film. Like, yeah, he is. He definitely is. Yeah.
Yeah, in that Hitchcock film, The 39 Steps, there's Mr. Memory. Mr. Memory, what are the 39 steps? That's kind of what Derek reminds me of. Is there was also this guy that they used to bring on TV when I was a kid, and he knew every stat about baseball. So they'd ask him a random question about baseball, and his memory was so good that he knew everything. Would you say that Derek's a compassionate person?
He is. He definitely is. I think he really wants to help out filmmakers from the bottom of his heart. You can tell that. Yes.
Yeah, I think you've really done the work and the kind of training that you've had from one of the best film schools in the country. Plus, taking a chance to really work with mentors. It's kind of like in business where there's so many intricacies and so many different things that you really only learn from experience or from working in a mentor protege situation.
Yeah.
Now,
Exactly. Totally agree.
I guess let's get a little bit deeper with the things that you learned from as an associate programmer for the festival. Were you seeing filmmakers make mistakes that you could have
Yes.
made and now you'll never make?
Yes, for sure. Um, so like I said before, like I feel like USA gave me the official like filmmaking education, but since like the way US is structure, like every cohort, we only have 50 students. So I feel like I didn't have enough opportunity to watch lots of short films. But once I joined the festival, feel like it really expanded my previous thought about short films because I feel like when you're in the school, you kind of imagine like what kind of short films festival would like or blah blah blah. But then, or maybe like when you're in the school, you will be like, oh, I got a great idea. Like nobody has made it before. And then when you look at that 2,800 short films, your idea is not that unique. Like I just start to see patterns. I feel like it's hard to find a really unique and technically well-made film because I feel like a lot of shorts, the mistake they find from the screenwriting level is like they're really generic films about dealing with grief. But the problem with those films is like they make the relationship really generic. It's like from the beginning, it's like I lost my mother, but I love my mother. But like the short film didn't really tell me what's it specific between the mother and daughter relationship. Like why do I care? But I feel like a lot of short filmmakers, what they were doing with their short films is like it's too generic. It doesn't stand out at all.
A person in mourning is really it feels like the whole world is this grief that they're feeling, and it's this paramount thing within their lives, but to communicate that to an audience is not that easy, and it really does take some experience and some skill.
Yes.
And while your grief is as big as the entire world to you, it's not easily communicatable to an audience what this character's feeling. It's a harder thing to take on than I think that they've got the ability for.
Yes, especially like one thing about I would say like I feel like even like when the actors when they try to show they are grieving, there are some typical scenes like I would say if I know this is a grief film, over 70% that thing will happen is like they will smell on the deceased person's clothes, or like stare at the photo, or hide themselves. If they lose their parents, they will hide themselves in their parents' closets.
And Yalian, it was so nice to hear where you came from, how you had so much success coming out of USC and really connected with the people that would shape your career thereafter. And we just started to touch on programming short films for the Santa Fe International Film Festival. The Pasatiempo magazine here in Santa Fe called it New Mexico's foremost attraction for cinephiles. The Santa Fe Reporter called it the preeminent Santa Fe Film Fest. The Santa Fe New Mexicans editorial board said best fest ever, or best fest yet, I think. So I got to give you so much of the credit and really thank you for putting together such a quality program. When you're looking at so many different films and you're corresponding with Derek, and are you guys doing phone calls? Are you chatting by text message? How are you communicating with each other throughout this?
Yeah. First of all, I think you and your sister need to take most of the credits there, because you guys did an incredible job with the festival. And I'm only dealing with the short programming part. So yeah. For Derek, we do talk a lot over the phone. Like we have really, really long conversation over the phone. Sometimes it lasts like 2 hours or 3 hours long. We just
Oh
talk
my God.
about these short films. Yeah. Yeah. We don't, sometimes I will text him if I see like an amazing short film that I think it needs his attention. I'm worried about like I will forget about it, so I will text him right away so he can watch it right away too. But it only happens to those like really amazing shorts. And then for those like 3 hour long conversation, it happens. The best films, both of us, we will agree on really fast. So we don't really need to have a conversation over there. So I feel like if something is off with certain films, he can sense it right away. He can sense the performance is off at certain moments. But for me, it's like I still need the mistake to build up at certain points to realize, okay, this film is off. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I think when you're starting out, you're a lot more generous. You think, well, that was a valiant effort. And then I think as you have done it and gain a little more experience, then you start to understand there are movies that really stand head and shoulders above the rest. And it would be unfair to give a valiant effort a slot next to a film that's actually a work of art. Is that kind of part of it?
Yeah, but I have to say for Derek, I think he's just more sensitive. He's more alert because he has viewed films too much. So, like for me, it's kind of like dating. I hate to compare it with dating. Like when you just started out dating, if a guy did something weird during the first date, when you just started out dating, you will be like, oh, I will give this guy more chance. But if you have been dating in LA for like 5 years, and you can tell this guy has a red flag right away at the first date, I feel like it's something like that. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I try my best to stop doing weird things on the first date, but it doesn't work. So I think, when you commit to a date or a lover or a deep friendship, it's like that committing to a film. Do I love this film? Is this film something that I could love? Does this stay with me? Is I think you do draw a nice parallel there where you're viewing this short film, you don't know what to expect. You go in with an open mind and the best intentions, And, sometimes it's magic, you're swept off your feet, and other times you can't wait to get to the car.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. You described it really well. Like, yeah.
So with a film that's really touching you, capturing you, sweeping you off your feet, is it the writing? Is it the acting? Does it have to be a marriage of all of those things? What are you looking for?
I think what works for me is definitely like writing and performance, like writing and directing. These two elements are the ones most important to me. Writing needs to work. Like I need to watch this film and realize what's going on. I can tell you, Jock, like there are so many short films out there. I finished watching this film and I don't know what's going on. But once you reach the baseline, there are some films that are just not honest at all. Like I can totally tell, like since I started to watch more films, I can totally tell. It's kind of like when you're in elementary school, the teacher asks you to write something and like asks you to write about your mother. This is just a metaphor. And you actually don't want to write your mother, but you kind of make up some details about like, oh, my mother cooked me breakfast every day. But when the teacher read it, he or she, they will tell it right away if the essay is coming from your heart or not. So I feel like for me, it's like I did see there are so many films out there without a heart. Like they are technically well made, but I don't think it's a genuine waste. Yeah.
And do you think what you're describing is a betrayal of the audience and their trust?
Yeah, I think so. Like, yeah.
This is Voyage LA, and it's another interview with you. Okay, the first thing I'm seeing is a picture of you and a buck. How did that does not look safe? Tell me the back. How did you meet this deer?
Oh, it was in Japan. Like I was traveling. So for those magazines, they're asking like my photos, and for some weird reasons, it's really hard for me to find a single photo of myself that looks professional. So I was out of ideas. So I started to look for photos only with only me in it. But there are a lot of animals, so I saw the deer one. I kind of threw it in, but that was in Japan. In Japan, there was a city. They are kind of famous for these deers. So it's a park. So you can just go in there. You can feed the deer or do whatever you want with them. But sometimes the deers can get pissed off and then like attack you. But this deer, I feel like he or she, they were pretty nice to me. Like I was like, can we take a? I actually literally talked to them. I said like, I'm going to take photo together, and then the deer smiled to the camera too.
It's pretty remarkable. It almost looks fake, but uh,
Yeah.
I'm looking at it saying, if this is real, the horns are right by your head. This is dangerous.
Yeah, it is dangerous. It is very dangerous to do that. Yeah.
Your short film Mantis Club, is that the one we've been talking about?
Yes.
And it was a quarterfinalist at the Slam Dance Screenplay Competition. It played at many, many film festivals, including Santa Fe International Film Fest. I think that's how you first came here, was with that. Oh, there's this picture of you with this puppy. What puppy is who is this puppy?
Puppy.
Or
Oh,
it's
oh,
a
that
little
that
black
is my
dog.
friend. That is a friend, my friend's dog.
So I in the interview you mentioned a film called The Truman Show, and
Yeah.
we've spoken about it on this show before when we did movies that predicted the future. What was it about The Truman Show that spoke to you and touched you?
I watched that film when I was really young, like when I was about like 6 years old. So I think at that time, television network in China, they imported that film. So they actually played it on the Chinese television. So I saw it when I was a kid, and I didn't feel like back to that time, I really knew what's going on with the film, but the final act when he was saying like good morning, good evening, that part, I felt really touched. I didn't know what's that about back to that time, but I felt like that was the time I felt the power of cinema. Like it's really profound. Yeah.
I love that. We touched a little bit on Derek Horn, who you work very closely with at the festival. Talked about him having an excellent memory, about how thoughtful he can be, how good at his job he is. Is he also a fun guy?
Yeah, he is. He's a really fun guy. He can come up with so many like ideas too. Like when the thing about him is like because he watched so many films, so when we found a new film like among the submissions, he will find a film similar to it in the past years right away and then send me a link of that old film. And I'm like, he's like a film library somehow, like a short film library. He basically just knows all the short films in the world, feels like that sometimes.
And did I already ask you if you think he's a passionate person?
Yeah, he's a really passionate person.
So you're doing some other work for NBC Universal, and you've got some things coming up in your professional life. Tell me a little bit about what we can expect.
So right now I'm directing a mini documentary series for a streaming platform under NBC Universal right now. So they launched a Chinese streaming platform in the United States. So that platform was for like Chinese language, Mandarin language content only. So they were trying to fill that platform up with certain content. So I'm doing a doc about it. And for my personal life, I'm trying to pitch a feature film, my debut feature film. I was working on it for the past year, whole year. Now I'm trying to get some part of the finance down. So yeah, it's hard.
And is this a narrative film?
Yeah, it's a narrative film.
Is there anything else you can tell us about it this early on?
I'm really passionate about satires, so like this is another satires, like a narrative feature.
What inspired you to take this to the next level where you've already made short films and now you're going to make a feature film? Is that just the natural progression in your field, or is this particular project you see it as it must be a feature?
I think it's the later one. I feel like this specific project needs to be a feature, and also like uh, I feel like the festival experience I had in the past 2 years prepared me enough to enter this feature world. Like I feel like I've heard enough about people talking about how to make their first feature, both in the filmmaking part and both in the and also in the business part. Yeah.
And tell me about some of the fun that you had over the past couple seasons at the festival. Did you meet anybody great? Did you see any movies you loved?
One person I need to mention is like his name is John Patton Ford. He made Emily the Criminal. I think his film won the Film Independent Spirit Award for Best Screenwriting. And I met him at the festival, and I really liked his feature film. And I asked for his short because at the festival he told me like he made a short when he was at AFI and it got into Sundance. So I watched that short and I was blown away by that short. It's so good. We maintained a friendship after that. So he told me about like how he got to make this first feature film, and he told me the process. And then I felt like because somebody told me about their past, so I kind of get a clearer picture about like what I can do. And also like not only him, like other people who saw my short, they will tell me what they have seen in my short and what I need to keep doing for my future projects. So I feel like it also saves some time for me to trying to figure out what I should do next, sometimes like that. Yeah.
Have you gotten to know associate programmer Nate Nee?
Yes, I got to know him. Yeah, I definitely know him. Yeah.
And what do you want to say anything about him before we move on?
He's great too. He actually gave me like because he's from China too, do you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like so we actually can talk a lot about like Chinese film festivals too. Because sometimes it's hard to talk to Americans about film festivals in China because they are not that well known here in this country, but like Nate knows a lot about Chinese film industry too. So like whenever I saw him in the festival, we can both we can talk about like not only American film festival but also like Chinese film festival or what's going on in Chinese film industry.
I think he's been to the Shanghai Film Festival, but he's definitely aware of what they're. Yeah, is that right?
Yes, he told me about that. So like he told me about like his experience and everything. Yeah.
Let's see if I can ask you another LA question.
You should come to LA more often. Derek, me, Nate, most of your programming team like are in LA now. Yeah.
Yeah, and I used to come to LA so often. I think Colorado has kind of swept me up, and I do so much traveling to film festivals that I don't find myself as often in LA as usual. But yeah, I've got three really great friends on the programming team there, plus some other really cool friends. So I'm looking at spending more time there. What are some of your other favorite places and things to do?
Burbank AMC.
Oh, okay.
This is really specific, but like I got that AMC A list. So like I spent a long time trying to figure out what is the best AMC in LA. So originally I tried the Universal one, but the thing is like for the Universal and AMC, the parking is so complicated, and then you still need to pay $5. But they do have a
That's
I
in Universal City.
yes, originally I went there pretty often, but I kind of gave it up because the parking is like a maze. And then I went to the Glendale one, but the Glendale one is also like it charged me for $5. And then it's like a shopping center, so there are a lot of people there. I don't like it, but I finally found a Burbank AMC. They have laser screen, they have Dolby Cinema, and they have really like cool chair, like you can lay back, and then like leather seats, and then there are not many people over there too. So I just Burbank AMC. Yeah. I know
And
it sounds a little bit lame, but parking space. This is like my priority to live in LA. It is easy to park. Second thing, if it is free parking or not. Third, if there are many people over there or not. Like that theater, it doesn't have a lot of people, and it's really clean too. Yeah, I watched Poor Things and Saltburn over there, and it's the best. Yes, the laser screen and the Dolby Cinema. Yeah.
what did you think of Saltburn?
Oh, I love it. I actually, I feel like that film is something like the more I think about it after I watch it, I like it more. Like first of all, it's really beautiful shot. It's really beautifully shot, and I really love the director's first work, The Young Promising Woman. And then I saw the second one. I definitely see some repeating theme in there, like revenge, the some dynamic between the same gender. like the main guy in Southburn, he kind of looks up to Felix. She had that theme in the Young and Promising Woman too, like the girl was mourning her old friend. So I felt that's really interesting. Like, but Southburn technically it is on a new level. Like the cinematography, you can tell the director gets so much more money to do whatever she wants.